Between the two teams, who do you suppose is under more pressure in this game?
Mexico, without a doubt. You have already mentioned why the U.S. won't be under pressure. I mean, they lost.
You mentioned it. You're the one that took out the umbrella.
No. You mentioned why the U.S. was, right? So you've already mentioned that the U.S. has not lost in 4 games. They've beaten them in 2 finals. They have more credit in their favor. And quite frankly, when we talk about pressure, it's cultural. And I've spoken about the cultural pressure that the Mexican national team lives under. They tied against Jamaica and they were booed off the field. A player who had played 5 World Cups for them was booed every time he touched the ball. The head coach has had 2 games and he's already on the hot seat. It's a different type of pressure, but pressure nonetheless. And how much pressure can you put on the U.S. when they've not lost in 4 against Mexico? Yeah. I mean, I think everything, they have everything to win and nothing to lose here.
Yeah. You can always, I think, say that the default is Mexico's under more pressure than the U.S. because of the fans, because of the media.
But that's not just the default.
Yeah, that's the reality. That's the reality of what it is. And I think when you factor in the fact that Mexico's coming off a terrible World Cup and the U.S. isn't, there's more pressure there. Do you think there's enough pressure, Herc, that if Mexico loses to the U.S., let me throw a score out there, 3-0 or worse, Diego Cocca's in danger of losing his job, like 2 games in, 3 games in?
Seb, I think there's enough pressure on Diego Cocca where if he plays an MLS Combine team in that April 19th game, the intercontinental final that they're calling it, or whatever it is, the continental final, if he loses that game by a bad scoreline, he's gone. He's out. He won't get to the Nations League.
Wow. All right. So then it is different levels of pressure. What about the U.S.? It's not to say that there's not pressure on the U.S., right? This is a game against Mexico. And by the way, it's this Mexico, Herc, right, which eyeball test tells you it's one of the worst Mexican teams in years. And just factually, what we witnessed at the World Cup, it is one of the worst Mexican teams in decades. The U.S. has a chance to really establish regional supremacy, or at least rivalry supremacy here over Mexico. You can't let that chance slip. There's some pressure on the U.S. for all the other things you talk about. I don't think I would describe this as a free roll for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, but pressure for who? That's the thing. Because we mentioned the pressure and we immediately went to Diego Cocca. Pressure for who? And this is where it shows how dysfunctional things are at the moment. Who are you going to place blame on? I mean, who are you going to go after? Right. Cindy Parlacone? That's a reality here. There's no sporting directors. There's no head coach. It's dysfunctional, but where's the pressure going to lie, Seb? You know, let's say it's still Anthony Hudson in that very moment. Who's the pressure on?
I suggest the players. Because just as quickly as the U.S. grabbed a hold of CONCACAF dominance 2 years ago, it can shift right back around. No, but they don't want to lose the edge that they have right now over Mexico.
Who wants to lose, Seb? But this is what I'm getting at. Mexico, it's always on the players, right? It's the players, it's the coach, but there's actual repercussions for when those players, that coach, when they don't perform. It's the sporting director, he's gone. It's the president of the federation, he's gone. There's no pressure on the U.S. side when it comes to that. Who are you going to blame?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.